Okay, hi Andrew, how are you doing?
Good, Eric. How are you? How are you?
I'm
How's
pretty
things
good, thank
today?
you. How's America at the moment? I believe you're right in America. How's America going?
It's going well. As you are aware, I'm in Denver at the moment. Sheena, my partner, and I, we do this thing called Trusted House Sitters. So it gives us the chance to travel. We love to
Yeah,
travel. We get to look after some great homes and pets, and it gives us the ability to explore. And I've got my trusted laptop and my office, as I say, is my backpack. So as long as I've got decent Wi-Fi, it gives me the opportunity to get work done, but equally to enjoy life.
fantastic.
Or as I say, find my freedom,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is my
yeah,
moniker.
yeah. The true laptop lifestyle.
That's
Um,
it.
so today, the topic we're going to be speaking about today is one that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure hopefully to the people who are listening. But the title of it is How to Create a Marketing System That Works While You Coach. That's what we're going to be speaking about today. But I just want to add on to that, not just while you're coaching, but also whilst you're on holiday, whilst you're out socializing with your family, whilst you're in bed sleeping, you've got
Excellent
something running
points.
and operating
That's it. That's
like
it.
all the time. So without further ado, I'm just going to do a quick introduction about you, Andrew, if I may. And I'm going to read this because I think unless I read it, I'm going to miss out some valuable key points. So I'm just going to read through this so the listeners know that they are listening to a true expert and someone that's actually got real life experience, which I think is important in this day and age. You're not just a PT that's been a PT for 3 or 4 months and has decided, right, I'm now going to become a coach or a mentor. You've actually been in the trenches and done this, and then you've gone and done what you've done now. So let me just go through this then. So again, today's guest is Andrew Wallace, a business mentor and a marketing consultant, and a leading authority in the fitness business growth space. He empowers personal trainers, studio owners, fitness entrepreneurs to find their freedom by building profitable, that's important, scalable
For
businesses that
sure.
align with their lives and what they want to live. Andrew specializes in creating proven marketing and sales and management systems that generate consistent, high quality leads, helping fitness professionals grow sustainable business without burnout, which is important, without the guesswork, and without overwhelm. And I just say, in terms of the guesswork, there is a degree of trial and error with any sort of marketing, which we'll
Of
talk about in
course.
a few minutes. And then the final couple of things here, which are important. He works with established fitness professionals to increase profitability while working a 25-hour week or less, which I think is quite a nice amount of time, which I think is really good. Generate predictable revenue month after month, so you don't have this roll at this feast or famine, and
Hmm.
build effective teams if you want to build a team of people supporting you, and systems that drive long-term success. And that is really, I think that's so important to think about the long-term success side of things as well. So please welcome a trusted mentor to the next generation of fitness health professionals, Andrew Wallace. So Andrew, I'm going to dive in with my first question, if I may. And that is, why do you think so many personal trainers actually struggle with consistency in their marketing efforts? What would you put that down to?
It comes down to, and I'm speaking from experience here, as you say, I've been in the trenches since 2004, so I've got the grey hairs to, well, perhaps not on my head,
Yeah,
but coming on my chin a little
I've got
bit.
a few here as well.
To, but it's most of us operate reactively. We're busy, we're doing what we enjoy, working with our client base. And that's great. It's a great life. It gets us up in the morning. But then, for whatever reason, clients leave. There's always that attrition. Clients will leave us and they will never always be with us.
Sure.
And we can lose one or two. When we start losing them, we start panicking because we've not got an equal amount or more coming in as new clients.
Yeah.
And as I say, we're reactive, so we start thinking, "Oh my God, I've got to start marketing," and we start throwing a lot of stuff out there, hoping something will stick.
Yeah.
More often than not, it does. When it's more fortunate in the manner that we do it, um, but it's not a great play. It's very stressful, and there is a better way. So rather than be reactive. and marketing only when we urgently need clients.
Mm.
We need to start focusing on being proactive and getting the relevant systems in play and making sure that we're marketing ourselves, not aggressively,
Yeah.
but just through being, being our unique selves and just being present so that people are aware of who we are, what we do, and what our experience and our topics are, so that we act as a magnet, drawing people in. Another big thing is we confuse activity, random posts here and there, and I've been guilty of that myself. I'm sure that possibly
Andrew,
you have.
I just want to jump in with a point here to make about the marketing side of things, if I may, and that is, I think as PTs, when we get involved in personal training, we've obviously got involved. I say obviously, often it's the case we've enjoyed health and fitness, we've been good at health and fitness, it's come quite naturally, or you may have had your own transformation and got inspired to want to get into this area of business, being a
Hmm.
personal trainer. But very few personal trainers come into this space with marketing experience, expertise, and skills. So again, I'm even going to touch on this, but it's just worth saying at this point that it's not a natural thing for us to do. It certainly wasn't for
It's
me,
not.
and it's something that we have to work on. But please, yeah, continue with what you were
Uh,
saying.
you bring up a valid point, Eric, and I think back to when I did my training. I've got to think a little harder these days, but it was through Future Fit and through Premier, and we did all of we did the gym instructor, we did the personal training qualifications and all that, and spent significant time, which of course we have to.
Yeah, sure.
I can't remember the exact amount of time we spent on marketing, but it might have been an hour. And it was talking about, this is pre-Facebook and social media, but it was just talking the very basics, and it wasn't great. It got me started,
Sure.
but I quickly came to realize that, hey, if I'm going to survive and thrive, I need to learn more. I need help on this element, and that's where I went out seeking myself, um, how to become a better marketer, because those are my friends and colleagues who I knew who had businesses in other areas. They were in the same boat, and they were going out and determining how to promote themselves
Sure. Yeah.
through offline or through online as online growth come. But it's important. And the biggest point for me was that, and this comes back to the answering the question, is that rather than those random posts that I call activity, I realized I needed to have a strategy in place that I devoted the appropriate time to my marketing each week. Now, it wasn't every day, but what I found that when I become more consistent in devoting time to promoting myself through client referrals, through client reactivations, through building a bigger network of people who knew me, and predominantly complementary businesses like massage therapists, the local nutrition store, um, even hairdressers became. There's two key hairdressers in the town where I started that drove referrals to me. So those sort of plays, they become the foundational elements on that. But the biggest aha moment for me was getting clarity on who my exact audience was.
And Andrew, before we dive into that clarity point, which I know is a key critical point, I just want to back up a second and just really get crystal clear on when you say strategy, what you mean by that. And the reason I ask that question is because for a lot of trainers, when we think about marketing, if we were to break it down, you and I both know you've got tactics, you've got strategy, and you've got principles in order of hierarchy,
Hmm.
let's say. And strategy we're going to talk about, but I think a lot of trainers get stuck with tactics and they jump from one tactic to another tactic. So whether it's I'm going to do Instagram carousels, I'm going to do Facebook Reels, I'm going to do LinkedIn articles, they jump from one tactic to another, and rarely do they stop and think about a proper cohesive strategy. which is often, and I've done this myself, where I've gone
I have,
tactical,
I
tactical,
have,
tactical. But
and we interchange.
maybe to speak a little bit on tactics and strategy before we speak about the point you were going to make, which is on clarity.
Yeah, no, good point, and it's good because again, I made that mistake. I would confuse strategy and tactics.
Yeah,
I would talk about strategy, whereas I was really talking tactics. Tactics are the things that we do that drive us towards our strategy. So, as you say, an Instagram post or determining that you're going to post consistently on YouTube, um, they're all tactics designed to build awareness of our brand that drive people to our website. The strategy, the overarching strategy, that should be in line with what our revenue goals are. So for me, I always start with, hey, how much do we want to earn? How are we going to achieve that? And we break that down into the overarching our target. So let's say you want to earn 120K this year. Well, to determine that, you've got to understand how much you charge for your programs. And from that, we can determine how many clients we need to generate to be able to hit those financial goals. From there, we can go down a level, go right, what are we going to do to enable us to do that? And that then breaks down into, hey, well, my personal goal is to build my email list. That's a marketing asset which I can control. That's what I also tell my clients that, hey, if we can look to build that list, we can build a rapport and relationship with that list. They then become our predominantly our customers. We're not then having to try and attract a cold audience, people who don't necessarily know, like, and trust you. And once we've got those clear, we can then go into, right, what are we going to do on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis to track the leads, which will then turn into those underlying clients.
you know what I mean. I'm not going to go down that particular rabbit hole right now of building a list because
Oh,
again,
that's a story.
again, it's such an important thing that trainers miss out on, and often I think we are fooled into thinking we have to get on Instagram or Facebook or whichever platform you want to pick, TikTok, and generate these instant or DM conversations. And in my experience, most trainers are uncomfortable doing that generally,
Yeah.
and they undervalue the importance of growing that list, which they own. Whereas TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, they can go down at any time. You can lose all of your followers, but your email list is your asset. But we'll maybe do a video on that at some other point. But you're going to go into one of the other reasons why trainers struggle, and that was you were about to touch on clarity. So maybe to sort of delve into that a little bit more, the clarity side of things.
Yeah, it was a big aha moment for me because when I started, we're all keen and we want to get started with our first clients and all that.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm a personal trainer. I train people. I
Yeah.
get people fit, and we open it up to I train anybody.
Mm.
But it becomes a challenge when we switch our focus to marketing. How do we create the right message that's going to resonate with our target audience if we are unclear on who we like to work with?
Sure.
Now, I get it. It's difficult to determine who your ideal clients would be when you're starting out because you've got very little experience. So you've got to roll your sleeves up, get in the trenches, as we say, and just get training people to get a feel for it and to hone your craft. But over time, and I'm sure guys listening to this will realize they'll think of certain clients and they'll smile. I know I certainly did when I'd look at my list for the day
Mm.
and I'd see a name on there. I bonded more with that type of person.
Sure.
Whereas I'd see someone else and nice person, obviously won't name them, but they were energy vampires. They would come in and it was like a therapy session, and they would unload the burden that they held, and
Yeah,
it. I was left feeling exhausted at the end of those
sure,
sessions, and
sure.
um, and they weren't the best for me. I didn't feel then that I was giving my best to
Yeah,
that
sure,
client and the
sure.
client that was coming after them, to be fair, because I was physically, mentally drained from it. So when I say getting clarity, it's getting having a lack of audience clarity. And if you can determine who your ideal clients are, the people that you enjoy working with, the people who you feel you can give the most to help them achieve their best possible results,
Yeah,
that inspires you. It certainly inspires me,
sure.
and it fires you up. And if you're fired up and they feel that positive energy from you, that synergistic effect is
Yeah,
it's amazing. I've felt it with certain clients in that, they can achieve anything they want to achieve, and because I was getting energized by them, and equally they were feeling energized by me because they could see that I was in 100%, and if they could give 100% back, then as a team we were unstoppable. So for me, the biggest thing when it comes to marketing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is having that, or starting out with understanding who your ideal client is. As an addition, an addendum to that, I think it's important just to relay here. You can have more than one what we call client avatar, or buyer persona is another name.
Yeah,
Um, for example, looking behind you there with the tennis ball, you can determine that you want to work with tennis players, for example.
mm,
But equally, you can also have another avatar who are uh, busy stay-at-home mums who want to lose weight. So you can have more than one, but it's important to be clear who those ideal clients are, because then when it comes to your marketing, you can write, you can record your marketing telling a story that's directed to them. So whether they read it, hear it, or watch it,
yeah,
they're drawn in because you're talking directly to them. Your message relays and resonates with them so that they lean in, and they then, the subtle call to action, whatever that might be, they're more open to wanting to take that next step, be it book a consult, come for a free trial, or just get on a call to learn a little more.
wow,
But
brilliant.
audience clarity is key.
And before I go on to my second question about simplifying this, or what makes a simple marketing system, just a couple of things to add in there quickly. The first point you made about rolling your sleeves up and getting in there, and I think we all have to do that. And unless you know categorically before you qualify and when you qualify, I want to work with this sort of person, we often have to get involved. I work with a whole multitude of people before eventually I found myself working mainly with women 40 plus wanting to lose anywhere from 20 to 50 pounds plus. So you're quite right. You've got to roll your sleeves up. The other point you made was about clarity. And the story I often tell trainers is imagine standing in Waterloo train station and just shouting at the top of your head, hey, you, hey, you. People are going to be walking past you and thinking you're nuts. But if you stand there and shout, hey, Jenny, and you do that long enough, at some point, somebody called Jenny is going to go, what, me? And that's when you start to cut through. And the third point I think is when you specialize, there's a fear factor. As I said, I work primarily with women over 40, that you're going to miss a lot of other opportunities of working with maybe men as well. And I found that
Yeah.
not to be the case. I actually found that I was still attracting men into my business, not as many, because my marketing message was clearly geared towards females, but it didn't
Mhm.
stop men and me training men. And I've got a whole bunch of guys that I've trained with. So I just thought I'd add that in there. But let's tiptoe on to the next question then, which is under this heading of how to create a marketing system that works while you're coaching. And that is, in your opinion, what does make a simple, effective marketing system? And, what does it look like for a busy coach, in your opinion?
I think we need to premise that. It's a great question, by the way. I think we need to premise it by saying we need to make things simple. I'm big on simplifying things.
Yeah.
And again, that comes from experience. When I first started and I went down the marketing rabbit hole and learning more. And as marketing has progressed with the internet, with social media and the likes, and of course, working with coaches over the last 12, 13 years and more, we time constraints become a factor, and we go online looking for marketing, and we find these marketing funnels, and we see these things. And I remember there's a software tool, an email, well, it's a marketing a tool called Infusionsoft,
Yeah,
which
I
is a
remember
great tool.
that. Yeah,
um, but I remember when we're working with it, and I worked in a previous life, in my early days as business coach, we were working in partnership with them, and they were producing these marketing funnels, and they were so complex
yeah,
that I found it challenging, and clients are calling it confusion soft because they were just,
yeah.
and because they didn't understand how to use it, and felt they didn't have the time to invest into learning how to use it. It just sat there as an expensive expense.
Yeah,
Um, so they floundered.
yeah,
So those, don't get me wrong, they were great tools and they worked extremely well, but it was just too comprehensive for a lot of us to understand. So from that day forward, I thought, well, how can we simplify things? How can we strip it back? Because at the end of the day, we got into this industry to help people live their best possible lives through health and wellness. We didn't come into this thinking, "Hey, I want to be a marketer. I want to record, edit videos, and craft social media posts, and sit on Facebook all day, every day." There's no enjoyment on that. Well, I know some people like to do that. So I'm looking at how do we simplify it. So I base it on what I call three weekly actions.
sure.
It's it's publishing one educational post or video. Now I say post or video, so that's a blog post or a video.
Yeah,
And I say that because some of us are better at crafting or working in the written form.
yeah,
Some of us are more comfortable in front of video. And you mentioned that a little earlier, that, hey, most of us don't like being on camera. Um, I've grown into it and lent into it because it's a necessity these days. Certainly on social media, they want video, so we have to get over ourselves and just be ourselves, and get in front of camera. But if your strengths are writing, well, write a good quality blog post on your topic of choice.
yeah,
You can then transfer that into doing the video as well. But if you're stronger at it just turning the camera on and talking, and it comes natural to you, well, that should be your pillar piece of content.
yeah,
From there, and this is where I think we all go wrong, is that we will devote the time to creating content and publishing it. Well, then we sit back, hey, that's my marketing done. Come on, everybody, roll on in. That unfortunately doesn't happen unless they know, like, and trust you. We seem to have lost the ability to connect with people in person. COVID has had a significant impact on that, I admit. But even before that, as social media is growing, people have become more and more open to sitting behind their screen rather than getting in front and talking with people. Talking one on one to a group in person, or equally talking through DMs and stuff. So we need to actively interact with people regularly, because otherwise trust, respect, and the awareness that actually they need your services isn't going to happen if we've not got those interactions. So we need to devote our marketing time to having daily, ideally daily interactions, but certainly weekly interactions with people. No, not a vast trying to manage, as I've seen with lots of marketing funnels out there, would build a list of 100 and start interacting with each of them, and you get lost in the minutiae. You build a list, but then reach out to two, three, five, maybe if you've got the capacity to 10 people, and just touch base with them. Ask how their day went,
yeah,
what challenges they had, and just, you're not selling, you're just being a friend or mentor, a coach to them.
Mm.
showing that you care. They, not all of them will come back, but those that do, then you can go back and it's step by step. And if you're doing that on a regular basis, at some stage, that there's going to be that next step where they ask, "Can you help?"
And I just want to jump in, Andrew, and just make a point about that because there'll be some trainers who have just heard that and they'll be thinking, yeah, but I know, or they'll feel, because I've felt like this before, or not anymore. I used to do when I very first started, and I'm sure the trainers listening that might feel this way. If I send out a message saying, oh, how's it going, or what you up to, or whatever, just being human, they will be thinking in their heads, yeah, but they know I'm sending a message because I'm trying to get them to maybe buy something or come back. They may have that thought. So one of the things
Oh,
I really,
they
but one of the things I regularly say to trainers is, as part of your client onboarding process and offboarding, that's the key thing, the offboarding process, you make it clear to them that, hey, look, great working with you for the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. You know what? As part of my service, I always catch up with my clients 3 months later, 6 months, 9 months, periodically throughout the year. You'll get a message from me. Is that okay? And then the door's open now. They're expecting it. It doesn't come out of the blue because if they don't hear from me for 3, 6 months, whatever, then it may seem on their behalf a little bit, oh. But if you make it clear as part of your offboarding process, that can be quite valuable and that dovetails in very nicely
it
to
does.
what you are saying from a psychological point of view.
Yeah, communication's key, and just being clear and transparent as well, and not. And look, I made this mistake myself because when the and you see a lot of these promotional things of DMing people, but a lot of those that I've looked at, it's it's templated messages, and you're just cutting and pasting those messages out to a range of people. That's not, to me, that's not communicating.
Mm.
And people can see through that. They can see they've got their BS radars, and
Yeah.
they they know that, oh, hang on, there's going to be a pitch coming soon.
Mm.
So you've got to be true to yourself and true to them, and just spend some time. And it's easier, I admit, when you know more about the prospect or certainly the client, that you can then craft a message that's relevant to them. You
Yeah.
know, if you're communicating with a client, they might have mentioned that their son they couldn't attend a session today because their son was going to the dentist because they had to have a crown replacing or something. Well, if you know that, then touching base with how did the visit to the dentist go? I hope it all went as smoothly as possible,
Yeah.
and your son's out of pain or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. So you're acting as a friend, and I shouldn't do the air quotes there because you're being true.
Yeah.
You're not. There's not an ulterior motive there. You are
You're being human.
purposely asking, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what draws people in. If we're being true
Yeah.
and we're being honest and we're being transparent and we're just being human, then that lowers the barrier, and then we're open. Hey, thanks for that, Eric. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go and you can just go back. Yeah, no worries. I'll look forward to seeing you. If it's a prospect, then it's a bit more challenging because we don't really know them and all that. But they would have contacted you for some reason, and you can maybe ask them, "Hey, what prompted you to connect with me?" Question mark.
Sure.
Or you could, "I'm just interested to learn a little more." If
Yeah.
they don't answer, fine. We don't badger them with which I see a lot of the time is, oh, let's get message number two sent. Oh, 2 days, let's send message number three.
Yeah.
That's what doesn't work, and people can see that. Say this, you're not being true. You're not being human. That you're just going through a sales pitch. So we've got to do it for the right reasons and do it being human, and people will see that and will respect that more, and that's when you'll find that you will get those responses then, and you can then respond in the appropriate manner, not hit them. Hey, I've got free time this week. Do you want to jump on a consultation call? Oh, that means he wants to try and sell me into his program,
Yeah.
and that's not the way we go. We've got to do it at a timed approach. We've spoken previously outside of this, and we've both had similar things. And this is pre DMing, but um, I'm and the time frame rings a bell. And that I had someone come to me. I mentioned her to you previously, where she wanted or said she wanted to become a client. She'd been referred by her husband for the right reasons, but I could tell in talking with her that she wasn't ready, and I told her that. Um, I could have done with her being a client at that time, but it didn't feel right for me. So I gave her some steps and gave her some handouts and things which I felt would be useful to her, and added her to my email list so that she would get my weekly email newsletter, which was packed full of nutritional and fitness advice.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from her for 18 months. She came back. She'd lost a stone, maybe stone and a half. So, I can't convert that to kilos to anyone listening that side off the top of my head. But she was, at that time, she was ready now to take that next step. She'd grown in confidence, and I could tell in talking to her, she was a different person.
Sure.
So you don't know the time frame it's going to take for somebody to go from when they first start to connect with you to when they're ready. Some of them will be hours, some will be days, weeks, others might be years. But if we are consistent in just getting our message out there, leading with value, great content that resonates with our audience, there's got to be a time when they go, hey, I need to get my backside into gear. I need to contact Erak. I need to contact Andrew. I need to contact whoever to see if they can help me achieve my goals. So that's why it's just finding that framework and finding that simple process that's manageable so that you're getting your marketing done, but equally then you're doing what you love to do, and that's working with your clients.
And just before I move on to my third and final question, and those are some great points for keeping things simple and effective. And I think in the same way as we work with, or hopefully, certainly how I work with my clients, and I'm sure it's the same for you, the simpler we can keep things for our, the end user client, in my case, weight loss, the simpler I can keep any mindset stuff, any diet stuff, any exercises, the more likely it is they're going to do it. Same applies for marketing. If it's
Yeah.
simple, we're going to probably keep it up. And the other point you mentioned was about doing what you like. And I often refer to that as your superpower. So for me, I like doing video, and I find video easy to do. It doesn't feel like marketing. It just feels like I'm having a conversation like we're doing now. And
Yeah.
if you can, so it could be video, it could be writing, as you mentioned, it could be networking, but whatever it is, try and make that your hub so that you never actually feel as though you're marketing. You just feel as though you are educating people. And I think when you hit that sweet spot, then I think marketing, along with simplicity, becomes like just it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and it just becomes far easier for you long term. So just to sort of draw this to a little bit of a close, then, it's an interesting question, this one, and I pause because there's a bit of hesitation, and maybe I'll explain why as we get into this final question, and that is, how can trainers repurpose their content and get more mileage with less effort? So how can they repurpose? And I've paused, and I maybe dive into why I've paused once you've given me your answer on that one. And we might even disagree on this as well, possibly, but let's see.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
it's always good to disagree on certain things
Yeah.
because there's never one way to skin a cat, as my gran would used to say.
Sure.
I look, oh, sorry, cats, are they around?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've, again, this has come through experience because once I got into marketing and actually found I enjoyed it, I was doing lots of different things, but there was so much disconnection, and they all needed significant time to realize if it was putting together a flyer, if it was putting together an ebook, a lead magnet or something along those lines,
Sure.
a webinar or a workshop, that there's significant time to invest into them.
Yeah.
And it's only relatively in the last few years where it's become more popular, and I was showing how to do this, that repurposing became made a lot of sense to me. And what I mean by that is going back to you say like superpowers. For me, I found that writing was easier for me than being on video. Getting better at video because, as I say, you've got to lean into it.
Yeah.
And when as you mentioned, and this goes out to those that say, "Oh, I can't do video." Just treat it as a conversation as we're having now. And once I had that in my mind, Sheena, my partner, will say, Andrew loves to talk. I do. Yeah, it becomes easy. So you just talk. You can't always see that person you're talking to, but you're having a conversation with that individual. And if you're doing that and you're talking about a topic that you enjoy, it becomes so much easier. So get over the camera thing. But repurposing for me is getting that blog post. I call it the seed content. It's the initial piece of content. If I've crafted that right, and let's say it's got 5 core topics in that blog post, I can pull those into a carousel post where each image I create for that carousel is each of those 5 topics added into. There'll be a front cover to it. There might be a call to action. So there's 7 slides to that carousel.
Sure.
So rather than trying to craft a carousel from thin air, I've done it from this, and I can refer back to that blog post. Then I can then craft an email from the content from that blog post as well. Each paragraph could be about each of those 5 elements of the blog post, or I could do 5 separate emails, one that dives a little bit deeper into each of those 5 subtopics. I could do a YouTube short, or I could do a longer form video as well that's just paraphrasing or talking about the content of that blog post. Or if you can't get over, and I keep stressing, you have to, I believe, get over the fear of being on camera, do a podcast. If you like talking, do a podcast there. It's still growing in popularity where you can, I wouldn't necessarily say read the blog post, because most of us, it sounds like I am reading. It's a bit robotic. There's no energy in that. But if you know the topic that you wrote about, which no doubt you will do, then you can talk about it on, just hit record and talk those topics through. And I've done that in the past. I've on podcasts. And I've had a little post-it with just a note of each of those 5 topics to remind me which is the next one in line, so that you don't get lost as you're talking through. So that one blog post is then built out into many things. There's a coach I like to watch. He's not a fitness coach. He's a business coach called Matt Gray. He calls it his waterfall system, and he takes his pillar content and builds it out into about 30 different pieces that he utilizes. Now he's got a team that works with him, so makes that a lot easier. But I looked at that and I liked it, and I thought, how can I simplify? As I said, I like to simplify things. How can I simplify that to work for me, and equally make it simple for my clients to be able to use systematically, repeatably, week in, week out? And this is the framework that we're put into play. Is it the best thing that we could do? Probably not, but it works. Can it be improved? I absolutely think it probably can. I'm sure you're going to tell me or give me some suggestions perhaps on how we do that, but it works for now. Yeah. And like anything, we can refer back to it, devote some time to review it, and then make, the subtle tweaks and changes to see how we can improve things. But for me, it's a model that works, is relatively simple, is structured, and it's a system that enables us to get traction.
And I think the thing that you said in there that really ties all that together for me personally, when we talk about repurposing across multiple platforms, the thing that really I gave a big tick to was team. And I think unless you've got, I said unless you've got a team, it depends. If you've got the time, you can do it all. If you're limited for time and you can outsource to a team, you can get it done. But all I was going to say regarding repurposing was, 'cause I'm a big fan of, I believe in repurposing, but I also believe in trying to keep it in a vertical. And what I mean by that is, for example, I like to do YouTube videos. That's my
Mhm.
thing. But let's just say it was Instagram or Facebook, whichever platform you go onto, there are little intricacies that you have to learn on each platform, little nuances, ways of doing things. And I think the danger for certainly for I speak from my own personal view rather than anybody else. The danger, what happened with me was I would try and do it across multiple platforms, but not do it particularly well with any platform. So I do a YouTube video, but not properly optimize it or write a description properly or thumbnail. I'll do an Instagram reel, not properly do a description or the hashtags. I might do a
Mhm.
Facebook, but not properly write the description. And I've sort of done all that from the video. I've had the video transcribed and turned into XYZ, but not done any of them particularly well. So what I found useful for me is, right, let me get as good as I can at YouTube, understand how it works, how to produce the best videos as best I can produce them, set up my systems for capturing emails, leads via video. And then the point you made was I would then take some of that content and turn that into emails, whether it's one email, two emails, five emails. So all I've done is taken the video, but I'm getting good on that platform, and then I'm taking some of the content and I'm pushing that as emails to my database. And for me personally, it just kept my headspace clear. I wasn't thinking, oh,
Mhm.
I've got to go onto Instagram now and do a carousel. I've got to go to Facebook. But I think the point you made is if you've got a team, 100%. And that's what a lot of these people do. They take a video, they transcribe it into a blog post, into an article, into an Instagram, into a reel, into a carousel, into a short when you've got a team. Or if you have a lot of time to do this, but would you want to be doing it or would you want to be training clients? So that's the only thing about
I,
repurposing that
it's a good point. It's a good point,
I
and
have.
it goes against the grain. I think still, although there's a growing a voice recommending this approach, is that finding that I feel that as you say, that one platform that you're going to invest your time on. As you say, both you and I have determined that that platform's YouTube. I would look to get good as you can on that platform and ignore the desire or the
Yeah, design, it is.
attractiveness of going on many platforms. If you've got the capacity to do so, then yes, break it down into the Instagram carousel, LinkedIn, or whatever. But find that platform of choice that you yourself feel comfortable on and enjoy working with, but equally making sure that it's a platform that your target audience are on, because I've come across this with some clients who wanted to go all in on a particular platform, that platform being LinkedIn, but their clients were on Facebook or on Instagram, so they were going into a you know onto stage and no one's there. There's no
Yeah,
audience.
sure.
Well, there is an audience, but it's not an audience who knows who they are and are too busy on their phones looking at somebody else rather than listen to that performer on stage.
Mm.
So you've got to find that one that you feel comfortable with and enjoy being on, but equally that your audience is there as well, so that you can reach that audience and then go all in. And I would say perhaps go all in on it for maybe a year. Don't feel that you have to be spreading your wings onto more, because as you say, you start cutting corners, and if we do that, the quality of work that we're producing diminishes, and that means that the results that we're going to achieve are going to be not a good return on the investment of time that you're putting into this, time and money that you're putting into it. So yeah, go all in on one. Um, I say one because I feel that you've got to be working your email list as well, so
Yeah,
that because they work hand in hand.
exactly.
Because
Yeah,
once you put up your latest piece of content on your social media platform, i.e., in our instance, YouTube, then in your next email that goes out to your list, you can say, "Hey, guys, check out my latest video on blah blah blah."
yeah,
Because what you're doing, you've got your trusted audience saying, "Oh, Eric's just put out a new video on intermediate fasting." That's coming to my head. I don't know
yeah,
why, but and oh, I'm interested on his take on it.
yeah.
They click. So YouTube is seeing that you're drawing traffic to your website, so to your to your latest video, so they can see that there's interest in it. So they will amplify it out to more people who they feel will be interested in it as well. So they both work hand in hand. So those people that see your video on YouTube enjoy your take on intermittent fasting, and then in your description see that you've got an email newsletter, or you've got a download, a PDF download that they can get. They click that, so you're bringing traffic over into from YouTube into your mailing list. So you've got both working hand in hand, as I say. So uh, that's where I would start out. I think, keep it simple initially, and then as you're getting traction from that, that's then when you can think, "Oh, hey, let's try and repurpose onto another platform, which is the next platform I want to work on, and work from there."
I think, and just drawing it to a close there, but I think the point you just made there again, which is a good point, I think, for people listening, or for you that's listening, wherever you are,
Yeah,
wherever you are in the world, once you get traction, because a lot of people give up, a bit like people trying to lose weight. They start out on the diet plan, the exercise plan. They don't give it long enough to see any significant weight loss, and before you know it, they're onto another plan. They never get that traction. And whereas had they stuck with it, got the traction, they'd have probably found that they could get better and better. I think it's the same with marketing. Get some traction, good traction, i.e., not just clients coming in, but converting them into paying clients, make some money, and then consider if you've got the capacity, if you feel necessary, to go broader. You may not. You may be perfectly happy just doing Instagram or Facebook or YouTube and actually doing it organically, which I think personally works particularly well with paid. If you want to do paid, we don't have to do paid, but organic, it's great because people then find you of their own volition. But Andrew,
yeah.
look, we spoke at length here, and I think it's a great topic we've covered today. So for anybody that wants to get any additional information about how you can maybe provide them with some free resources or indeed a conversation with you, where can I direct them in the description for them to find you for more help?
Easy place is my website, andrewwallis.com. Wallace is spelled Wallis. You'll get to read more about me. You can see my playbooks, the coaching programs that I offer. Um, or they could get my socials at Andrew Wallace HQ. If you Google that, you'll find my various things. But yeah, the website's the best place to find out more and see what we're up to.
Fantastic. Andrew, look, thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you taking the time out. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Eric. I'll speak
Thanks,
soon.
Andrew. Take care.